Rio Hato Airfield. Rio Hato is located about 75 miles from the Canal Zone. Uh, there was an airfield that was established there in 1931. Uh, the land was obtained for use by the U.S. in 1942 through an agreement with the Republic of Panama, and it was one of about 130 some that were used for defense of the canal during World War II. And it was envisioned as a maneuver practice area because it offered a wide terrain, a varied terrain ranging from high to low and from woods to open wasteland. And during World War II, it was used by the United States Army Air Corps 6th Air Force as, to defend the Panama Canal. And in 1948, it was closed as an active Air Force facility. It was used by the U.S. Air Force as an auxiliary military landing field as late as 1990 as part of Howard Air Force Base operations. However, U.S. control over the area was returned to Panama in the 1960s. In 2011, Panama began work to transform the airfield into a commercial international airport. And that airport opened on November 13th, 2013. And if we look at a current view here, and I will back out. I'm unsure how much of the area was actually granted for use to the U.S. You can clearly see the airfield here. There are no maps that I found that outline the area that they use for maneuvers and so forth. My thought, however, is that it extended over and perhaps up into here, as they mentioned that it was very terrain and so forth. This was reported by Bill Petitier, and Bill made a note that the area was heavily sprayed and vegetation turned brown so that we could set up our tents and equipment. Folks came through spraying for insects every day. Plus, we were given as much DBT as we wanted when working on equipment. And one of the functions that occurred, as I mentioned, in 42, the U.S. was granted the use of this. And the terms of that agreement, which applied to 130 some places, was that they'd be returned to Panama within 1 year after the formal treaty ending World War II. And about 100 of them were returned in 1947. Rio Hato and the remaining number of places, the U.S. tried to negotiate a treaty with Panama for their continued use. That treaty failed. However, the U.S. did continue to use this area for a while. And it was also used for Operation Just Cause. Now, in 1944, the U.S., Britain, and Canada began a research project that was located offshore, and I'll back out here. see if I can, yeah, here we go. Here's Rio Hato. And the research project that they worked on was located out here on San Jose Island. And that started in 1944 and ran into the 50s. And Rio Hato Airfield was used as a place to provide supplies and so forth out here to the research being conducted out here. So material and so forth was stored at Rio Hato and then flown out there. And if we look at the attachments I have here, this is the low resolution 1969 view. You can see the airfield in here. There is not much development around the airfield, and it has been kept clear, as you can see here. I will point out here, this road you see coming here is the Pan American Highway, and as it existed for a long time, it crossed right over the runway. I recall I took a trip when I was down there in the 70s up to Boquete, El Volcan, and David, and I just faintly remember this road going across a runway. At that time, I didn't realize that that runway had been used by the U.S. or and so forth. When we get back to the current view, I'll show you what Panama has done as far as the highway. Now, this is from 1944, and this was published on pacificrex.org. And it showed at that time, you can see the runway in here, but it also shows some of the buildings and so forth that existed in order to support the mission. And you can see things like they had a parachute tower, the hangars were located over here, and etc. And moving on to the next one. This is a photo of the airfield that was taken in 1999. And I'm not sure, but I suspect this was taken from where the Pan American Highway crossed the airfield. You can see that it's relatively open around the airfield. And this is a photo of the new international airport. And the runway was improved, and the terminal and so forth is over in this area. Now going back to here, the current photo I showed of the airport was taken in 2017, and it was on Wikipedia. But on the current map, you can see that part of the improvements that Panama made was to take the Pan American Highway and tunnel it under the runway. If you recall, in the old view, it just ran right straight across there. And you can see that all the buildings and so forth that existed in 1944 around there are pretty much all gone at this point in time. However, the area is still clear.
I'd like to thank veteran Richard Wyman for putting together all of this information on possible places to test in the Panama Canal Zone. We are further than we have ever been before. We have a rulemaking request that's been granted by the VA Secretary. We have a HR 5026 bill for Panama introduced into the Congress.